I saw that story with North Korea and the balloon.
Did you see that? Isn't that cool?
He's going to take the balloon, right, and just drop it over the country. Drop copies of it.
Drop copies.
That's awesome.
The only
I
problem
saw that was awesome.
is that they'll have no way to watch it.
That's true. I don't think they have DVD players.
No,
right.
3/4 of the country's never been online.
That is, I didn't think about that.
Think about that.
They're just going to see a box and be like, well, what do I do with this thing?
I'll use it to prop something up at home. Yeah. In fact, the cyber, word was when, North Korea hacked Sony and then the U.S. hacked North Korea and their systems were down for 9 hours. Most people didn't even know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
they don't. I mean, a lot of them don't have electricity or food.
Yeah,
much less the
Facebook.
internet.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, Happy New Year. Good morning. I'm Mike Yaffee, filling in for Bud today. As you obviously know, I'm usually the producer. I'm usually on the other side of the glass, but
we tied Bud up, put him in the closet.
Yeah. It was quite a struggle, but I'm here now. And on the other side of the glass today, filling in my position is Tom Benson.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Mr. Benson.
You know the best thing about the January 2nd?
What?
No more Christmas cookies.
That's the best thing?
What's
wrong with you?
I've had my fill, and, I feel guilty every time I put one in my mouth.
Okay.
I'm going to leave before I get in trouble.
That's quite a New Year's resolution. All right, and we also joined by our intern, Mike, making another cameo appearance.
Oh, yes.
Yay.
Great to be back.
He's back.
And he's going to be actually interning for us this coming semester. He came back for a second semester.
I'm more amazed that you guys let me back.
No, actually, we're very amazed you wanted to come back. Really. Yeah.
That means Deborah didn't do a good enough job of scaring you away. So.
I love a good challenge.
So
I'm already on to her at this point.
So, by the way, it's 2015, and so that means I drove here in my flying car, right, powered by a Mr. Fusion, and came, from my car on a hoverboard, and my jet shoes, my self-lacing jet shoes. No, none of these. I'm very upset. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, in the movie Back to the Future, when he goes Back to the Future 2, when he goes to the future, he goes to 2015. So I expected all these things to exist, especially the flying car. And, well, we have a year, but I want it. Where is it? Especially the Mr. Fusion. I think that's the best idea ever. I think a lot of that stuff will come, except the flying car. I don't think the flying car is going to make it. I just don't see how that would work. How would you monitor that?
Hey, you have until October.
October, you're right. And then all the clothes that they wear. I saw a picture on Facebook of what the teenagers are wearing in the movie, and it's like, this is what you're supposed to be wearing now. And no, I don't think it's what I'm going to wear. All right, so since it's 2015, by the way, that means we're going to have a lot of fun in Congress because now the Republicans own the Senate and the House, but of course we still have a Democrat, Obama, liberal president. So there's talk of all this struggle that's going to happen in Congress. The DHS, Department of Homeland Security, is going to lose some of their funding. Well, they're going to lose all their funding at the end of February. We have other budget deals going on, and we'll see what happens. I think most of it is just a show. I don't think we're going to get nearly what we want. So we're going to talk about that, have Orlando's news, weather, and traffic in just 2 minutes on News Radio 102.5. Well, good morning again, everybody. Happy New Year. This is Michael Yaffee filling in for Bud Hedinger today. And by the way, have you followed me on Twitter yet? Have you followed me on Twitter yet at Michael Yaffee? You should do so. I'm always posting cool stuff on there. Follow me on Twitter. I might mention that just a couple of times today because I want to get my goal this year is to get. Well, I don't want to tell you how lame the amount of followers I have now, but if I could get over 100 today, I would be ecstatic. If I get over 100 a day. So follow me on Twitter at Michael Yaffee. So I'm gonna ask this to the intern Michael for a specific reason. Did you watch the Rose Bowl last night?
Oh, I did. I'm heartbroken.
You're heartbroken. Why are you heartbroken?
Well, did you see the outcome?
What? I'm just trying to get you to say it. I know the outcome.
You just like to see me in pain, don't you?
A little bit.
Unfortunately, my team did not succeed.
Did not succeed. That's
at
a
all.
mild way of putting it. That's a mild way of putting it. Did you see the game, Tom?
I did indeed.
You see, it's so funny looking through the glass because you have one guy who's like sad and depressed, and then the other guy who's
He's happy about it.
Yeah, I know. He's smiling.
making it
He's
so
great.
much worse.
Woo! So can you tell me what happened last night, Tom? Because he's not giving us the real picture.
FSU lost, and they ended their 29 game winning streak too.
Yeah,
So there's always next year.
by
and
a lot.
And I see where
59 to 20.
Winston may not go to the NFL now. He's thinking about sticking around another year.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I
That's
don't know.
surprising.
I just read the headline. I didn't read the details. That's where the devil is, in the details.
Well, there was talk about Winston going to the Tampa Bay Bucks, so I'm wondering about
Well,
that.
they need something, sure.
Yeah, they need anything.
One kind of funny thing did come out of the game last night.
Oh, okay, Mr. Positive. Go ahead.
I'm trying to find a silver lining. It's very thin, but it's there. The memes flooded the internet after the game last night, and they are hilarious. It's definitely worth a search.
Can you post one of those memes on our Facebook?
I would be happy to.
All right, go ahead and do that. Yeah, you didn't know I was going to put you to work after that comment. But yeah, and then the other big game was Alabama and Ohio State, and Ohio State won. They pulled it out.
There's a surprise, you bet.
that
Ohio
was a
State
huge surprise.
42, Alabama 35. National championship now is January the 12th.
This is what makes the playoff system really cool.
Sure.
Is because, for one, FSU can have no argument now that they should have been in there.
Yeah.
There's no argument for them now because they got killed. And then you have a couple other teams that both good. Now, number 4, they got in there. I think it makes it really exciting. I like it.
And the other big bowl game was the Citrus Bowl, played in Orlando yesterday. No one really cares, but Missouri over Minnesota 33-17.
Yep, you're right. Nobody cares. I mean, other than it's in Orlando and it's good for the economy and it's
Right.
in the new Citrus Bowl. Woohoo! But yeah, about that game. And there was a funny commercial on during the bowl game last night where it had some of the old Heisman winners and they're like in a classroom and
Yeah.
Johnny Football. They're like, okay, say this playoff, and Johnny's like, bowl game? No, playoff. Bowl game? I thought that was pretty funny. All right, so what else is coming in 2015? A new year. We have the budget battles in Congress. That's what we're looking forward to. There was a big headline on Drudge this morning that budget battles loom, and has a picture of John Boehner. And they're talking about how Obama and the new Republican Congress, because Republicans own the Senate and the House now, they're going to battle it out for the budget. Does anyone really think this is going to happen? Does anyone really think that John Boehner has the guts to actually put on a real battle against Obama for the budget? I mean, a couple of things coming up this year. February 27th, that's when the Department of Homeland Security funding runs out. And the big deal with that is that's what would fund Obama's amnesty executive order. So they think that's where the real fight's going to be. They're going to cave. I'm telling you. It's not going to be as big of a deal that we're all going to say. Hopefully, the conservative Republicans in Congress will step up to the Speaker of the House, and maybe we'll have a fight, because that's Congress's job. It's supposed to be the opposition. It's supposed to keep the president in check when he does things that are unconstitutional. So we'll see if Congress actually does their job. March 15th this year, the debt limit suspension expires, so that's not going to be a big deal at all. They don't care about spending. They'll just increase the debt ceiling even more. We'll go into even more and more debt. No one will take that seriously, and the country will hurt as a result. Obama is supposed to put his budget in by February 2nd. Nobody ever likes his budget. I mean, didn't he put forward a budget last year that got 0 votes? Not even any Democrats voted for it. It was a joke. It was a joke. It was a joke. So speaking of all this, because I don't believe John Boehner has the guts. I don't think he has the guts to really fight Obama. Who do you think should be the Speaker of the House? Because the vote for Speaker hasn't actually gone through yet. So who do you think should be the Speaker? 407-674-1025. I have an interesting take on this next, while that and Orlando's news, weather, and traffic. Just 2 minutes on News Radio 1025. Good morning, everybody. It's the producer, Mike Yaffee, filling in for Bud this morning. And have you followed me on Twitter yet? Have you followed me on Twitter yet? Tom Benson followed me.
I did.
You're like the only one so far.
I saw your account. We got to really hustle that up.
Thanks.
To hit 100.
You see the faith that they have in me. So follow me on Twitter at Michael Yaffee, and that's Yaffee, Y-A-F as in Frank, F as in Frank, E-E, at Michael Yaffee. Follow me now. I might mention that. I'm going to mention that all the time because I want more followers on Twitter. And I'm always posting cool stuff on there. I'm posting my opinion and other stuff and cool stories. So, I mean, you get something out of it, too, if you follow me. So you should follow me. So I just talked about how this year is going to have a bunch of battles in Congress. So I ask you the question. Do you think that John Boehner is really the guy to lead Congress in opposition against Obama? You already know what I think. No. He doesn't have the guts. And because he's a progressive Republican, he believes in a lot of this big government stuff. And especially with Boehner, you know that he wants amnesty for illegal immigrants. And I've said this before, he's just upset that Obama did all this without him. He wanted to be a part of it, but he wants it. So a guy who wants it, you think he's really going to fight against Obama on this? No. So we need a new speaker. And it turns out, I found out, this was according to Investors Business Daily, I found a little editorial here, and he talks about how not only should Republicans vote for a different speaker, but they can actually vote for a speaker who is not in Congress. That according to the law, you can vote for anyone. You do not have to vote for someone that's in the House of Representatives. Now, the guy in this article said the perfect guy to run Congress then would be Ben Carson. I thought that was an interesting take. I don't know if I would want Ben Carson to be the Speaker of the House. And I actually found this out earlier this year. I did not know this. But Don Ulrich, who was running against John Michael locally, I asked him who he thought the Speaker of the House should be. And he told me, yeah, it doesn't have to be someone in Congress. And he said he liked Allen West. That if he was elected to Congress, which he was not, John Michael was, that he would vote for Allen West. Another interesting take. I do believe that Allen West would fight against Obama. That's what we need in Congress right now, is someone to fight against Obama and stop what he's doing. And I don't think John Boehner is going to do the job. But I ask you, who do you think would make a great Speaker of the House? Now, you can pick someone in Congress, maybe like a Trey Gowdy. That name's been floating around a lot. A lot of people really like him. But you can also pick someone outside of the House of Representatives. And I want to know who you think should be the Speaker of the House. 407-674-1025, toll free 855-545-1025. Tell me, who do you think should be the Speaker of the House? So I have an idea. How about, let's see, there's a guy locally who produces a radio show, but he's kind of smart, even locally. I don't know. He could get some votes. He's not in Congress right now, but again, according to the law, he could still get it. His name? Michael Yaffee.
Oh, my. Oh, my.
Don't act so surprised over there.
What's more important to you? Votes as Speaker of the House or Twitter followers?
Oh, man, this is a good... I would say Twitter followers, but...
that's more realistic, at least, huh?
How about you follow me on Twitter, at Michael Yaffee, and then on Twitter post that you would want me as Speaker of the House. Hashtag Yaffee Speaker of the House. I don't know. Hashtag Yaffee Speaker.
Yeah.
There we go.
Nice and short.
Yeah. Let's spread that. Hashtag Yaffee. And see if we can get me, Mike Yaffee, just lowly producer, as Speaker of the House. What do you guys think?
I think it's not doable. And I'll tell you why. You have to, because Speaker of the House is third in line of succession to the president.
Yes.
There's the president, the vice president, then the speaker.
Correct.
And to be president, you have to be at least 35 years of age, and you're nowhere near that.
Nowhere near. I'm not too far away from it. How old do you think I am?
27.
I'm 28.
28. There you
28,
go.
almost 29. So that would create like a constitutional controversy, because I don't know if there's a rule for age for Speaker of the House. There probably isn't. So, but what would happen if someone younger? I don't know. All kidding aside, the person that I would really want to see as Speaker of the House is a senator. And I don't even know if this is possible. Could you be a senator and be Speaker of the House? But I like Senator Mike Lee. Mike Lee is really great on law, on policy. He's really great on the Constitution, and I would love to see him be Speaker of the House and go against Obama. So that's my choice, but I want to know what your choice is, 407-674-1025. We're going to get to your phone calls on that when we get back. We're going to have Orlando's news, weather, and traffic in just 2 minutes on News Radio 1025. Good morning, everybody. We're listening to BHL with me, Mike Yaffee, hosting today, and I get the privilege to do the first ever Bloomberg report ever on this station with our good friend, Gina Cervetti. Good morning, Gina.
Hey, good morning. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. I thought you guys were starting Monday, so I was like, oh, yeah, I get to do it for the first time. But
you're lucky. You're the lucky one today.
I am the lucky one, and I'm a big fan of yours, actually. I heard you in the mornings previously, so I'm glad to have you with us.
Yeah, well, it's as I said, it's great to be here. And looking at the stock futures this morning, it looks like we might actually have a higher open here on Wall Street the day after the markets took a day off, of course, for New Year's Eve. And cheap fuel, of course, we all love that at the gas pump, right? Well, guess what? It's also helping those truck sales. Truck sales last year, now get this, U.S. consumers bought more trucks and SUVs than cars in every month of 2014.
Really?
Yeah, and that's something that, it's something that actually hasn't happened since all the way back in 2000.
Yeah, I'm shocked, actually. I mean, I know the Ford has their new F-150 coming out that's supposed to get really good gas mileage. So, but other truck sales, that's good.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see if the aluminum F-150 hits the road in a big way. And we have the automakers reporting their December sales on Monday as well, so we'll keep an eye out for that. Now, talking about savings at the gas pump, AAA says that with the crude oil prices as low as they were last year, $75 billion could go back into our pockets this year thanks to lower gasoline prices if they stay low. That's a lot more than what Americans saved last year with gasoline being as cheap as it was at $14 billion compared to the way crude was the year before that. So we're looking at the lowest gas prices right now in almost 6 years.
And from everything I've seen, it seems that gas prices are going to stay low. I don't see any evidence that they're going to go spike back up.
Yeah, not in the near future. Not right now, anyway.
All right, and I see here as well that one thing you wanted to talk to me about was Apple has a patent on a technology for a pen, like the iPen.
This is pretty cool. You can use a special stylus to write or draw on any surface and then have that content show up on another digital screen. Or you could simply move this stylus around in 3D space, drawing a picture in the air, essentially, and those images would be displayed on either a computer screen or your handheld device, whatever it is that you're using. It's pretty neat, huh?
That is really cool. And, I mean, it's the year of Back to the Future. So I expect more of this stuff coming this year.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to report later this year, Gina, about how the flying car is coming out. Can you do that for me?
Oh, geez. I'll do my best. How's
that? Okay. Yeah, it doesn't seem like you're too. All right. Well, Gina, thank you so much for joining us this morning for the first ever Bloomberg report.
You bet.
All right. We'll talk to you on Monday.
Talk to you then. Have a good one.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. So it looks like I have some calls from about who people think should be Speaker of the House. No votes for me yet. No votes for Yaffee yet. Come on, people. Come on, Speaker Yaffee. Sounds good. All right, we'll get to that in Orlando's news, weather, and traffic in just 2 minutes on News Radio 1025. All right, this is Michael Yaffee, the producer, filling in for Bud this morning. And earlier, I was talking about how we need a new Speaker of the House and how that Speaker of the House does not have to be a congressman. He can be outside of Congress. He could be me, Michael Yaffee. Yaffee for Speaker, hashtag Yaffee for Speaker. By the way, you can put that by following me on Twitter, at Michael Yaffee. Follow me on Twitter, at Michael Yaffee. The count's growing, but I need more people to follow me, and then put hashtag Yaffee for Speaker. But actually, my serious vote was for Mike Lee. Even though he's a senator, I love Mike Lee. I think he would be perfect for that position. But you can pick an actual congressman. You can pick anyone. The guy in Investors Business Daily who gave me this idea said he would like Ben Carson to be Speaker of the House. So that's another interesting pick. I've also heard Alan West thrown out there. So a lot of interesting picks. They're all better than John Boehner, and we need someone who will fight against Obama. But right now, I want to take your calls, 407-674-1025, to get your pick. Who do you think would be the best Speaker of the House? And I would love to see if someone actually likes Boehner as Speaker. Call me. If you like Boehner as Speaker, call me. So I'd love to get your opinion on that. But first, we're going to go to Bud in Winter Park. Good morning, Bud.
Good morning to you.
How's it going?
Good. Weather's nice. Where you at?
Well, I'm here doing a radio show. I don't know. But, I mean, the weather's kind of cloudy and nasty. What's All right, who do you think should be Speaker, Bud?
Well, how about this? How about something different? With all kidding aside, how about some good, honest American?
Okay, so Yaffee for Speaker sounds good? No?
Well, I don't know. Honest?
I'm honest? You don't think I'm honest? Okay, but...
I know you're honest, but I'm saying, you were talking about politicians. You're not a politician, are you?
No, I'm definitely not.
Okay, well, no, I'd vote for you.
Sweet. I got a vote already, but...
I'd vote for you for president, but the thing is...
Whoa,
we got to
down.
go to reality. But
Yeah.
how about if we find a good, honest politician, all kidding aside, can we do that? Like Sodom and Gomorrah, can we find somebody?
Well, I don't know. I mean, is there anyone that you have in mind?
No. Do you? I don't know. Is there any honest ones in Washington?
I mean, like, my suggestion was Mike Lee. There's not. You're right. There's not many of them. I mean, Dan Webster is pretty honest.
If we put him on a lie detector machine, do you think he'd be honest with the questions?
I think so. I think Mike Lee would. Dan Webster's another one locally.
I don't know. I used to think a lot of people were honest, but then you find out later they're not.
That's true, but it doesn't have to be a politician to be that way. But thanks,
But
Bud.
we find a good, honest American to be a politician for anything or Speaker of the House.
Well, that's a good point. Thanks, Bud. I appreciate your call. I mean, I would hope we would want a good, honest American, but as he made the point, what politician is good and honest? I mean, who knows? Pat and Lake Alfred, what is your take? Who do you think would be a good Speaker of the House?
Hey, Yaffee. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, a couple of those were decent. Ben Carson's a little soft on his speech, but
Yeah,
even
that's true.
he'll have the right answers. I was thinking Jan Brewer from Arizona. She's got no problem standing up and putting her finger in Obama's face.
That's true. She became pretty famous for doing that and getting a picture of that. I think she would be great. That's a great one.
I think she could command a good lead. I think Senator Cruz would be excellent. Give him a little limelight. Maybe he could step down if he's going to run for president in a year or so.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I like both of those. And Jan Brewer is pretty interesting because one thing we need the Speaker of the House to fight against is the amnesty order, executive order. And Jan Brewer has been very against that and even tried to, stop that the flood in her state. So she would. That's an interesting choice. Thanks, Pat, for your call. That is a very interesting choice, Jan Brewer. I didn't think about that. I didn't even think about a governor. Is there any other governors out there that maybe, or former governors, that would make great Speaker of the Houses? Or maybe former congressmen who aren't in Congress anymore? Or what Terry in Melbourne thinks? What do you think?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, you say if anyone can qualify for Speaker of the House, I think it ought to be Ted Nugent.
Ted Nugent. Well, he qualifies, but why?
Yeah.
Why do you think Ted Nugent?
He'd get up there with ARs and a couple of 45s, and
he would do his speeches with AR in his hand,
Right.
and well,
I can do it.
that might. I don't know if that's how we want to stop Obama. But
Well, it hasn't worked any other way.
that's an interesting take. But Ted Nugent, he is right. He's not too bad though. I agree with most of what he says.
Absolutely.
I don't ever see that happening, but he's a lot better than John Boehner. I'll give you that. Thanks, Terry, for the call. Yeah, Ted Nugent. That's interesting. Got a lot of interesting takes on this. I got one vote for Yaffee. Did you hear that, Tom? One vote for Yaffee for Speaker?
And it wasn't your mother.
No. She's probably sleeping. She ain't listening. But yeah.
Well, there was no nativity scenes in Washington, D.C. You've heard that this season. You heard that, didn't you?
No, it doesn't surprise me.
Well, that's because they couldn't find any wise men. Ho!
Oh, yeah, rim shot there. All right. That's a knee slapper. Speaking of nativity scenes, which is out of the Bible, I want to talk about in the next segment. There's an article in Newsweek where he says the Bible is so misunderstood, it's a sin. And at first I thought maybe this would be a great article. Maybe he would make a great point. But he doesn't. I don't know why I expected more from Newsweek. But he doesn't. So we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about Orlando's news, weather, and traffic in just 2 minutes on News Radio 102.5. Well, good morning, everybody. Have you followed me on Twitter yet? At Michael Yaffee. Follow me on Twitter right now at Michael Yaffee, Yaffee, and then hashtag Yaffee for speaker. And speaking of that, before I move on to the topic of the Bible, which Newsweek decided it wanted to bash this week, I have one more call. I had an interesting point on who should be Speaker of the House. So Pete from Inverness, who do you think should be Speaker?
Well, I'm curious why no one's pushing for Paul Ryan. He was supposed to be good enough to be vice president when he ran with Mitt Romney.
True.
And he's not even being mentioned as a possible Speaker of the House. And I think that says something about the lack of leadership in the Republican Party. If the man is good enough to be vice president, a heartbeat away from the most powerful man on earth, and yet he's not even being considered to replace a very mediocre candidate like Boehner. And I just wanted to mention that. I think we need to start getting tough and getting some leadership in the Republican Party. Thank you, Yaffee.
All right, thanks, Pete. Yeah, actually, that's a great point. Paul Ryan's very well known, and why he's not being considered, I'm not sure. He would be great on the budget battles because he's great with that kind of stuff, on budgets and all that stuff. He's not so great on the whole illegal immigration thing. He basically supports what Obama's doing. He won't say that, but he basically wants amnesty for illegal immigrants. He said it before in the past. He wants that. So, but that's an interesting take. He would definitely be better than Boehner. But we'll see. So, I wanted to talk to you guys this morning as you're on Twitter right now, following me on Twitter at Michael Yaffee, hashtag Yaffee Speaker. All right, I wanted to talk to you. I found this article in Newsweek, and it's titled The Bible, So Misunderstood It's a Sin. And I might actually agree with that with reading that. There's a lot of people out there, probably most of you in the audience are Christians, probably believe in the Bible, believe in the Word of God, believe in Jesus. And you would just look around the world and you see that a lot of people are not living what the Bible says. They're not living the Christian life even though they say they're Christians. It's just obvious in our pop culture that's happening. So to say the Bible's very misunderstood, yeah, I could believe that. But that's not where this guy is going with this point. And this is just another point when I talk about the attack on Christianity in this country continues. It's an attack on Christianity. That's what's happening. A lot of people think, they're trying to change Christianity. They're trying to make Christianity better. We're trying to be a more tolerant society. Forget all that. It's about attacking a Christianity. That's why they had the satanic display in our Capitol for Christmas. It's not about tolerance. They hate Christianity, and they're going to do what it takes to hurt Christianity's image in this country. But this guy makes an interesting point. He says America is being besieged by biblical illiteracy. I might agree with that, except this is what he thinks. Climate change is said to be impossible because of promises God made to Noah. Mosaic law from the Old Testament directs American government. Creationism should be taught in schools. Helping Syrians resist chemical weapons attacks is a sign of the end times. All of these arguments have been advanced by modern evangelical politicians and their brethren, yet none of them are supported in the scriptures as they were originally written. Really? None of them. So our law should not be influenced by the Ten Commandments? I would read John Locke and maybe disagree with that. Our founding fathers were definitely influenced by the Ten Commandments. It's definitely the foundation of law. And that's crazy talk? That's not what's in the scriptures? It's obviously what's in the scriptures. He's talking about how people haven't read the Bible. He hasn't read the Bible. But he also talks about creationism being taught in schools. Let me see. What is in the Bible? The first verse in the Bible. Genesis 1:1. God created the heavens and the earth. I will say that again. God created. It's in the Bible. To say that's not in the scriptures is silly. And the fact is, more scientists are becoming creationists because it is obvious to many that the universe had to be designed. Just look at our DNA. Look at our DNA. Each of our bodies have a design blueprint in our DNA. So what he's doing is bashing Christianity, and this is a new way of doing it. Instead of just bashing what the Bible says and bashing Christianity, he's saying, well, you don't really know the Bible. People who believe in the Bible, you don't really know the Bible. You don't really understand the Bible. It's a new take. So Christians out there who are true Christians, they're not real Christians. And the Bible, well, it's misunderstood. And then he makes an interesting point here, which has been debunked over and over again. He says, no television preacher has ever read the Bible. Neither has any evangelical politician. Neither has the Pope. The Pope hasn't read the Bible. Neither have I. And neither have you, he says. At best, we've all read a bad translation. A translation of translations of translations of hand copies, copies of copies of copies of copies, and on 100 times. Yes, the Bible has been copied many times. But unlike most things, we have some of the earliest manuscripts of the Bible. And when you look at some of the earlier manuscripts and you look at what we have today, 96% of it's the same. And in fact, the 4% that's different, it's just minor spelling errors that don't affect the original meaning of the Bible. And then we have the Dead Sea Scrolls that also confirmed what the Bible says. So this attack on Christianity, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know what he's saying. Just because we believe in the Bible, now the new thing is, well, the Bible didn't really mean that. It didn't really mean what it says there. It's a new thing, but it's been debunked, like I said. The copies we have today are very close, almost exact to what was originally written. So I just thought I would stand up for the Bible a little bit. Thought I would stand up for Christians out there who believe in the Word of God, and don't let them get under your skin with this. Oh, well, it's just copies, it's translations of translations. When the scholars have actually looked back and seen that the Bible that we have now is actually, for the most part, 99% very accurate to what was originally written. So that was just an interesting point I had to make of the article in Newsweek. But I see that Deborah Roberts, speaking of a godly person, a biblical person,
you know, that would have worked if you hadn't said it while you were laughing.
Sorry, no. Actually, you are a very godly person in a lot of ways. So
yeah, a lot of people go, thank God, when I leave the room.
All right, speaking of Deborah, she is right next to me, and she's going to update us on the latest news and a lot of other cool stuff coming up in just 2 minutes on News Radio 102.5. I love when comments come.
Oh, I do too.
I love that stuff. I eat that stuff up.
I do too.
I can't wait to see that. Well, good morning, everyone.
And it really is something that's worth seeing. You know, you get to look up in the heavens and see something that may not be seen for generations to come.
Yeah, that stuff's so cool.
I'm a NASA geek.
Yeah, me too. I love that stuff. So good morning, everybody. This is Mike Yaffee, the producer, filling in for Bud. And Deb, I want you to stick around for a second because I actually have to introduce something with my intern, Mike. Mike, get your mic ready.
Okay.
All right. By the way, Mike, our interns here, are producing is Tom Benson, filling in for what I usually do. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Tom.
All right, and Mike, I need you to remind me. There was a big game last night, right? The Rose Bowl. What were the two teams that played?
Well, there was one that played, one that really kind of didn't show up.
Yeah, exactly.
My bad.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
My poor Seminoles, they lost last night against Oregon.
What was the final score?
Yeah,
59-20. You guys are just having a lot of fun with this today, aren't you?
I'm enjoying every minute of it. Yeah, it was a big bowl game, and FSU got killed. I was watching the game. It seemed like at first they were going to do okay, but then no.
Yeah, not so much. And by the way, we've got some Oregon players that are in trouble today because of their off-field chant of yelling "no" means no to the chant of the FSU chant. So now several players are being they're being punished.
Can't we just be classy?
You know,
like why is that so hard?
Exactly. Is it not bad enough that they lost?
I know.
Do you have to be ugly about your win?
It's ridiculous.
It really is.
I mean, it shows that
and it
they're
had
just
nothing
kids.
to do with football.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with football.
This kind of stuff is going to hurt sports in general.
Yeah,
it's
it
really
does.
Going to hurt the popularity of sports.
No one wins at that point.
Exactly. Very good point,
hey,
Mike.
wait a minute.
But yeah, Oregon still won at that point.
He's just trying to
nice
make
try.
it. I see what you're doing.
Let them have it. It's a sad day.
Let the quacks have their day.
Yeah, exactly. Wisconsin won the Outback Bowl, though. Go Badgers.
Yeah, I saw that, and also Alabama lost. That was a big deal.
Yes, it was a very big deal. And speaking of a very big deal, the matchup here at the Citrus Bowl wasn't the sexiest of matchups, and as a result, we had the lowest crowds at the Citrus Bowl, the newly renovated Citrus Bowl since 1979.
Wow, well, that's millions of dollars well spent, I guess.
Well, next year maybe we'll get, like an Auburn or Alabama or Ohio State,
sure
Well, the teams were from Missouri and Minnesota. That's a long way to come.
Yeah, both of those teams
it is,
are.
but hey, it's Florida. We have the best weather in the country. Everybody else is dealing with frigid weather.
Yeah.
Not the state of Florida. This would have been the perfect place to come for your New Year's holiday.
That's true. Why did you all not come? I don't get it.
And don't come next month because that's when the I-4 construction starts.
Oh, Deb, why did you remind me of that?
I'm a news person. My job is to make you unhappy.
It's not. Deb, you always make me happy.
Oh, wow.
All right. Well,
I don't even know what to say to that. All right. Thank you.
There you go. Just thank me. All right. All right. So next, I want to talk about Obama, and I want to talk about his new foreign policy he's doing. We're opening relations with Cuba, and there's also talks that we're going to open relations with Iran. Why is Obama doing this? I'm going to talk about why he's doing that. We're also going to have Orlando's news, weather, and traffic in just 2 minutes on News Radio 102.5. Well, good morning, everybody. Happy New Year. This is Bud Hedinger. Or this is not Bud Hedinger. This is Michael Yaffee filling in for Bud Hedinger. Wow. No, I can't fill those shoes quite yet to say I'm Bud Hedinger. But by the way, have you followed me on Twitter yet? At Michael Yaffee, hashtag Yaffee for Speaker, Speaker of the House, Yaffee for Speaker. Have you followed me on Twitter yet? So by the way, my Tom Benton, you said earlier that my mom must have followed me already, and I was like, my mom isn't awake yet.
Yeah.
She texted me, and she said, I am awake, but her exact words, I don't Twitter.
Good for her.
So. Yeah, just the way she said that shows she does not use Twitter. She used it as a verb.
She should make an exception for her son.
Yeah. Mom, would you please make a Twitter just so you can follow me and I can get more followers? But everyone else out there, follow me on Twitter at Michael Yaffee. I post cool stuff all the time. You can also follow the station at News Radio 102.5. And I always retweet. I control the News Radio 102.5 Twitter as well. So if I post something on my Twitter, I'll retweet it on the station Twitter. And so there's just no excuse. There's no excuse not to follow me on Twitter. So if you could do that, I would greatly appreciate it. And then vote for me for Speaker of the House, Yaffee for Speaker, hashtag Yaffee for Speaker. All right, so I also posted something on my Twitter, a link on my Twitter, but also on our blog, 1025wfla.com, keyword Budman, and I had Michael posted on our Facebook. Like us on Facebook at WFLA Orlando. And I wrote a little column, and I titled it, The Postmodern President. And I talk about how I believe President Obama is the first ever postmodern president. Well, what does that mean? Well, I had to learn all this stuff in college. It wasn't that long ago. I took religious studies in college and learned all this stuff that a lot of it is crazy, make your head explode kind of stuff, but postmodernism basically means it's a belief, it's a way of thought that means there is no truth. That if there is truth, it's unknowable. But it basically believes that there is no truth, that everything is relative, and that the only truth that there is that there is no truth. So once you start with that kind of thinking, then you get into the way the world is. This means that there is no person who is superior than anyone else. There is no country that is superior than anyone else. There is no system of government that is superior to any other system. There is no economic system that is superior. We're all equal. We're all just different. So once you have this thinking, and this is what I believe drives Obama's thinking when it comes to foreign policy. Obama, it seems like he supports our enemies more than our friends lately. He supports opening relations with Cuba. He supports opening relations with Iran. Maybe even putting an embassy in Tehran. There's been talk of that. That's unbelievable. Thinking about just over 30 years ago, we had hostages there. So it seems like he supports Hamas but bashes Israel. Seems like he supports amnesty for illegal immigrants, but doesn't support our border agents. And this list goes on and on. We're pulling out of Iraq, pulling out of Afghanistan. We don't want to change governments. It's an amazing thing. Why is he doing this? Why would he show support for a communist dictator totally against us? Because he has postmodern thinking. He doesn't believe that our system of government is superior than anyone else's. He doesn't believe that Cuba, just because they're communists, that they're not less than us. We were the bad guys. We're all big and bad, and we should just reach out to them, be friends with them. Then they'll like us. Then they'll support us and we'll be friends. Instead of being a president that stands up for the American way of life, that stands up for capitalism, that stands up for, say, Christianity, he instead wants to reach out to our enemies and say, look, we're all equal in the world here. We're all the same. Who am I to say that America, that capitalism is superior to you? We're just different. And this raises a lot of problems with our foreign policy. Now, many Republicans and many conservatives think it's good to reach out to these countries, that we shouldn't stand up for capitalism, that we should just let them be and we'll trade with them. But there's a problem with this way of thinking, and it's very dangerous to be postmodern thinking, to believe there is no truth, to believe there is no superiority. And I'll tell you why I do not think this way. Two big problems with this way of thinking that's really going to have negative ramifications for this country. Do you agree? 407-674-1025. What do you think drives President Obama's thinking when it comes to foreign policy? We're going to get to that in Orlando's news, weather, and traffic in 2 minutes on News Radio 1025. So have you followed me on Twitter yet? At Michael Yaffee. Follow me on Twitter. I was talking about how Obama is the first postmodern president. The first postmodern president. He believes all cultures are equal, but he believes all systems of government are equal, all economic systems are equal. There is no truth. There is no right way. We're all just equal. So that's why he reaches out to our enemies, because to him, they really aren't our enemies. They're just different. And this is postmodern thought, that there is no truth, that everything is relative, that the only truth is that there is no truth, there is no superior anything. And that's how Obama thinks. And I have a call on this who actually agrees with Obama's way of thinking, and I'm going to tell you the problems with this way of thinking for our country. But first, I'm going to get to Bertha in Volusia. Go ahead, Bertha.
Hi, Yappy.
Hey, Bertha.
I agree with Obama for the simple reason.
Yes.
We have gone to war because we think we are superior. And if we are superior, we shouldn't be wiping people's face with it. Because God knows we got a lot of problems in this country. And we should learn to live and let live, because the only perfect person is God. We're all sinners saved by grace. So why are we trying to act superior?
Okay, so when we, during the Cold War, when we went against the Soviet Union and built up our military, should we have just let them be communists, just live and let live, even though they're oppressing their people?
We're suppressing a lot of people, too.
We oppress a lot of people?
In this country. We years ago, Jewish people could not sell to anybody but black people. You go to the library and read Jewish history.
I have read that. But
those have a lot of sins, okay?
We do have a lot of sins. Yeah, we are not perfect. And I thank you for your call, Bertha. We are not perfect, but our system of government, our Constitution, and our Declaration of Independence, those ideas eventually got rid of those things you talked about. Because things like slavery, things like discrimination, those are counter to the ideas of our government, the ideas set in our Constitution, the ideas of our founding. They go counter to each other. But if our Declaration of Independence wasn't created, we might not have what we have today, which is equal treatment, which is less discrimination. Of course we have problems in our history, and of course we have problems now. But to say we are not superior, there was an article in the Telegraph this week about how 2014 was one of the best years ever because, for one, economic prosperity has increased across the world over. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? It exists in that way because of capitalism, because of the spread of capitalism and the spread of free markets. Where did that come from? It came from here, the United States of America. There's been the spread of freedom, the spread of peace, and it's all because of America. A lot of it. But then one of the other problems with the postmodern thinking is our enemies don't think that way about themselves. Do you think that Cuba doesn't think they're superior? Cuba thinks they're superior when Raul Castro, after the deal, says, "We remain communist." They are thinking they're superior. Do you think the Ayatollah in Iran doesn't think he's superior? He continually talks about destruction of Israel, continually talks about the destruction of the Western civilization. Our terrorists are still bent on our destruction because they think their way is superior. So while we're here making friends thinking they're not our enemies, they're out there wanting our destruction because they believe they're superior. And if they're just as good as we are, if they take over, oh well, who cares if they'll kill Christians? Who cares if they'll imprison political opponents? Who cares? They're just different. No, I would much rather the world be a safer place with the superiority of America, because America is superior. And the spread of American ideals has spread democracy in the world, spread freedom of the individual in the world, spread economic prosperity through capitalism in the world, spread peace and goodwill through Christianity in the world. I would much rather have America be superior because I believe it is superior. And I believe we need to stand up against evil in the world instead of just saying they're different. Let's stand up against the evil and let's be the force for good. As Edmund Burke once said, the only thing necessary for evil to prevail is for good men to do nothing. So that's where I disagree with Obama. His thinking that reaching out to our enemies is somehow going to make the world better, that they'll like us better. They don't like us. They think they're superior and they're going to do whatever it takes to bring us down. And that's why his thinking is dangerous. And it's going to get more and more dangerous. It's going to create a more and more dangerous world. I have more comments on this. We have a call on this. But next we have Deborah Roberts coming into the studio. She's going to give us the updates on the latest news and some other couple of good stories. We're going to have that in Orlando's news, weather, and traffic in 2 minutes on News Radio 102.5. Good morning, everybody, and Happy New Year. This is Michael Yaffee filling in for Bud Henninger, and I am joined, of course, by the lovely and talented Deborah Roberts. Even though Bud's not here, the good news is you're still here. So the audience will still stick around.
Well, I don't know about that.
What do you have for us today, Deb?
Well, unfortunately, we're starting off with our two big stories of the day. And, of course, here in Florida, that would be the federal judge saying that Florida's county court clerks have a legal duty to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples. But in the ruling, he stopped short of ordering them to do so. But the judge did warn that clerks who don't start issuing the licenses when his temporary stay expires at the end of the day today could face future lawsuits or other consequences. Overseas, rescuers hope the fuselage, if intact, will contain the remains of as many as of nearly 150 passengers and crew still missing from the Air Asia flight that crashed into the Java Sea. The wreckage will also be key to explaining what might have caused the crash, as it contains the all-important flight data and cockpit voice recorders. More sonar equipment and metal detectors are being deployed, and early word as well. They think the plane may have crash landed on the water because they have found that one of the doors was opened.
Yeah,
and they
I
think
saw
because
that.
of the rough weather, it may be that the waves swamped the plane and sank it rather than it crashing.
Well, I saw that they found a life vest, a raft.
Yeah.
The emergency door, it has the slide, the inflatable slide. I think
Yep.
I heard they found that too, or something like that.
Yep, they did find an inflatable slide, and of course the fact that some of the bodies, The ones that they've recovered today were still strapped in their seats. Others were wearing their life jackets. So that kind of is leading people to think that they did have some time to prepare. Still doesn't bring any comfort to the family.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely not. This news brought to you by burnfatorlando.com. Lose 30 to 40 pounds in 40 days. 51 years ago, Mike, Arthur Lampett of Granite City, Illinois, smashed his 1963 Thunderbird into a truck. Makes me cry even thinking about it now. Well, this week during surgery in suburban St. Louis, a 7-inch turn signal lever from that T-Bird was finally removed from his left arm.
Wow, they just kept it in there.
They didn't know it was in there.
Oh, how do you not know? That's crazy to me.
A doctor removed the lever Wednesday during a 45-minute operation. Lampett, who's now 75, is recovering at home. Now, the accident broke his hip, drawing attention away from the arm, which healed, right?
Yep.
A decade or so ago, his arm set off a metal detector at a courthouse. That's how he learned he's got a turn signal in his arm.
Wow.
An X-ray showed a slender object the length of a pencil, but since it caused no pain or hardship,
very large.
Isn't it? He was told to just let it be. But he was moving concrete blocks a few weeks ago, and the arm began to hurt for the first time in 51 years, and he decided to have surgery. Now, he initially wondered if a medical instrument had been left in during the emergency room visit in 1963. Yeah, not quite. Now, get this. He found old photos of that mangled Thunderbird taken by a friend at the scene, and he noticed a metal blinker lever was missing from the left side of the steering column.
That means it had to have been through the skin, pierced into his arm.
And just stayed there for 51 years.
So he didn't notice it every time he wanted to make a left turn. He heard click, 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 click.
He moved to Florida and found that his left arm was perpetually on,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, surgery confirmed it. He says he wasn't sure what he's going to do with the lever. He's possibly going to make a keychain out of it.
Wow. I would definitely keep it.
I would definitely keep it, too. And this isn't as strange as you think. My stepdad was in a motorcycle accident back in the 60s and got road rash really, really bad. And every once in a while, he'll feel a piece of the gravel working its way out of his system. Gravel is still coming out of his arm 40-some years after he had that accident.
It's not quite a turn signal, but...
Yeah, I know. It's not as cool as a turn signal.
It'd be weird if the turn lever... started working its way out of the arm slowly. I just totally grossed Deb out.
Yeah, you did. All right, well, then let's cover something cool here. Last summer, London diamond retailer 77 Diamonds launched a high-profile advertising campaign that involved attaching a box with a 1.14 carat diamond worth over $18,000 to a weather balloon. The balloon was supposed to pop when it reached 100,000 feet and descend back to Earth, where the company was planning to do a treasure hunt via social media. All right. Best laid plans of mice and men. The GPS unit attached to the package stopped working on the descent, and after an initial search, the diamond was believed to be lost forever. But an unexpected happy ending couldn't have had better timing. Just before Christmas, Rosie, the Springer Spaniel, sniffed out the prize package underneath some hedges while on a walk with her 75-year-old owner, Alan Bell, and Bell's other dog, Dylan. The diamond was about 10 miles from the original search site. Now, the retired trucker and his wife, Pat, are celebrating their silver anniversary. So they plan on selling the diamond and going on a Mediterranean cruise. Alan said, of course, both dogs are going to get steaks for leading him to the special package. The company is just thrilled that somebody finally found the diamond.
Wow, so it was their dogs that found it?
Yeah, sniffed out the package underneath some bushes, and inside is an $18,000 diamond.
Wow, this is why you have pets. Pets
well,
are
I'm
awesome.
kind of wondering about that, though, because let me tell you, my dog has never sniffed out anything that savory.
You never
I'm
know
waiting
one
for the
day.
diamond, but I get more of the rough.
You're like, okay, boy, go get the diamond.
Yeah.
No, that's
That's not a diamond. No. The squirrel left that there for a reason. Drop it. Drop it.
Sometimes it is the squirrel that he found.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I get. But maybe someday an $18,000 diamond will show up.
That is so cool.
Isn't that a cool story?
That's cool. That, I mean, what are the chances? He must have been really upset when he lost it the first time, though. I can't even.
Well, it was the company, so he didn't even have to worry about losing it and finding it.
Oh, that's
this
true.
This company just attached it to a weather balloon.
Right.
How did that work out? But somebody found it, and it's going to fund their Mediterranean cruise, and anyone celebrating a silver anniversary should be able to take a Mediterranean cruise.
Yeah, I want to take one now.
I do, too. Let's go.
Okay. All right. See you all later. Bye-bye. No, thanks, Deb. Appreciate it. All right. I have a call here still on what I was talking about with Obama. We'll get to that in Atlanta's news, weather, and traffic in just 2 minutes on News Radio 102. Good morning, everybody. Mike Yaffee filling in for Bud. Have you followed me on Twitter yet? At Michael Yaffee. Follow me on Twitter at Michael Yaffee right now. Just do it now. Now, even if you're driving, just pull over, get your smartphone out, and follow me on Twitter. It's like the push of a button. It's that easy. Follow me on Twitter and then hashtag Yaffee for speaker. So I was talking about how Obama is influenced, with his foreign policy, he's influenced by postmodern thinking. The idea that there is no truth, America is not superior to any other country, we're all just different, and how dangerous that is. And I had one caller before agree with Obama's way of thinking, but I have a caller now who agrees more with my way of thinking. Robert from DeBerry, welcome to BHL. I'm glad to have you on.
How you doing, Mike? Sorry about that. It was so good.
Hey, if you can confuse me for Bud, that's a great compliment, actually. But go ahead, Robert.
Well, first I want to say Happy New Year to you, Mike.
Oh, Happy New Year, too.
I want to strongly disagree with the last caller, and I think that is the problem with the ideas of today. You know, there is no question that America's superiority is a fact, because if you look at the entire world, where do people come for opportunities and freedom? There are people clamoring, actually giving up, sacrificing life and limb to get here for this opportunity. I asked my last caller and anyone else who I believe that her ideas or that the president's ideas are correct, to go and live in those other countries that they claim are just as superior.
That's a great point.
The U.S. Let me ask her, as a female, how would she like to live in the Middle East, where women don't have the right to even go to school?
But, I mean,
so
you
don't
make...
tell me that we are not superior. We hold women up to being able to be president of the United States and any other opportunity. They do not afford that right anywhere else in the world, with the exception, there are some Western societies that do that, but in a lot of cases, we are the superior example of freedom around the world.
Robert, you make a lot of great points. We talk about opening relations with Cuba. There's not too many Americans, trying to get to Cuba. They're all trying to escape Cuba and get here. And that shows right there how superior we are and how we should fight for that in the world.
Yeah, I want to say something about Cuba. That these older generations that came from Cuba understand what they fled. This younger generation has that same idea that Obama has. They think it's a wonderful idea. Well, if it's so wonderful, go over there when Cuba opens their doors and let's see how wonderful it is. The older Cubans understand that the United States is superior than Cuba.
Wow. Robert, you are awesome. Thank you so much for your call. That was the call of the day. You made a great point. I mean, people are trying to get here. And, he talked about other Western civilizations think like us. That's because they were influenced by us in our history. Yes, we're not perfect. No one is saying we're perfect. No one is saying our history is perfect. But when you talk about most of the good that's happening in the world, it's being spread by the ideas put forth by Americans' democracy and American capitalism. Places like Cuba and the Middle East, they believe they're superior than us, more superior than us. They believe that themselves, and I would rather believe that America is more superior. So, Tom, Mike, I have some predictions for 2015. I found this article from Mediaite, and I wanted to get your take on some of these predictions.
Okay.
And see if you think they're going to be true. None of them are flying cars or self-lacing shoes, unfortunately. But here's one. The New England Patriots will win Super Bowl 49 against the Green Bay Packers 27-24.
Wow.
What do you think of that?
It's a possibility, I suppose, but a lot of people say Seattle's the team to beat.
Yeah, well, that's true. Seattle. I actually think Patriots will face Seattle. So I agree with that. Phil Griffin is removed as president of MSNBC.
That's probably going to happen sooner than later.
Yeah. What do you think would happen? What was that, Mike?
Just wouldn't be surprised. That's all.
Oh yeah. I mean, what do you think MSNBC would look like after that?
I don't know, but they got nowhere to go but up.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right. What was another one? Oh, American Sniper wins Academy Award for Best Picture.
You know what bothers me about that picture?
What?
In the trailers I see on TV for the ads, he's got a beard. Do they allow beards now in the Army? I mean, a full growth of beard, not just a mustache.
This is a very good question. I have no idea.
I don't think they do.
I don't know when you're over there. Who knows? When you're the best sniper ever, maybe they
make allowances.
Yeah, make allowances.
Yeah.
All right, another one is barring an economic collapse, President Obama's approval rating will rise to at least 50%.
If the price of gasoline keeps going down, I think the common man would be inclined to agree. Yeah.
Man, isn't that so upsetting that it's, I mean, the gasoline's going down for no reason that Obama hasn't helped that at all. In fact, he's heard it.
Sure.
And yet he'll get the credit for that.
Yep.
That's frustrating. All right, coming up next, we have the Brainbuster question. Good question for you there. We have Orlando's news, weather, and traffic in 2 minutes on News Radio 102.5. You are listening to Bud Henninger Live with me, Michael Yaffee, hosting today. By the way, if you followed me on Twitter, at Michael Yaffee, usually I'm producing, but today I am hosting, and it's that time. Just because Bud's not here doesn't mean we can't do the Brainbuster. It's time for the Brainbuster. Call 407-674-1025. Toll free 855-545-1025. Call in for the Brainbuster. And we have a prize ready. If yeah, Michael's just hooking up with our guest, but I want to get to him. He's a little depressed today, too, because of, well, before you go, Michael, before you go, don't run off yet. Can you tell me what the prize is for the Brainbuster?
Of course I can do that. Today's prize is a pair of tickets to see Gambler at any Regal theater, valid Monday through Thursday, in theaters now.
Actually, it looks like a pretty good movie. So 407-674-1025, toll free 855-545-1025 for the Brainbuster. And here is the Brainbuster question. Today, January 2nd, in the year 1788, one of the states voted to ratify the U.S. Constitution, becoming the fourth state in the modern United States, joining the Union. The Brainbuster question, what state entered the Union on this date in 1788? You obviously have a 1 in 50 chance, but what state entered the Union in 1788? Let's go with line one. Which state?
Delaware.
Nope. All right, line two. Line two. Which state?
Carolina.
South Carolina? Nope. Nice guess, though. Line three. Which state entered the Union on this date in 1788?
Virginia?
Nope. You're getting there, but not quite. Line four.
New Jersey.
Nope. You're all too north now. Too north. Go south, my friend. All right. Which state? Line one.
Virginia?
Nope, someone already guessed that, and that was wrong. Go more south, my friends. Line two.
New York.
South. Go south, people. South. All right. Line four. Which state entered the Union on this date in 1788?
New York.
No. Okay, we've got like 3 guesses for New York. It's not New York. Go south. More south. Line one.
Georgia,
you're right. That's the answer. Georgia. Whew. Finally, I kept telling people go south, and they went to New York and New Jersey. Unbelievable. What's your name? Where are you calling from, man?
Jeff from Orlando.
Well, Jeff, congratulations. Did you just take a guess, or did you know that?
I actually took a guess.
Oh, okay. Well, good
had a
guess.
feeling.
Good guess. You won the prize, and congratulations. You are our winner.
Another happy contest winner on WFLA.
All right, and I'll put you on hold, and Michael will get your information so you can get the prize. Believe it or not, I did not know this. Georgia was named after King George II. That's where they got the name Georgia when it was just a colony. I did not know that. It's very interesting. All right, in the next hour, I'm going to interview Pastor Matthew Groce. He's a local pastor, a mentor, and a friend of mine. But he has a new book out called Different Leagues that really addresses, and I think can solve a lot of our racial problems in this country. So we're going to talk about that book and talk about how America should deal with the racial strife in this country. But we'll have that in Orlando's news, weather, and traffic in just 2 minutes on News Radio 102.5. I like how you said your favorite Mike Yaffee. There's not too many Mike Yaffees out there.
There's only one Mike Yaffee, never to be duplicated, never to be replicated.
So it's not hard for me to be your favorite Mike Yaffee.
You're just my favorite.
Okay.
Stop dissecting a compliment.
I know.
You're learning from me.
I know.
Stop that.
I know. It must be a radio thing.
I think it is.
Yeah, it must be a radio thing. All right. This is the time of the morning because last night we had the Rose Bowl. So I have to get the intern. He's giving me a look right now. I have to get the intern Michael on because I need to know what the score was last night to the Rose Bowl. What was it, Michael? Who won?
Again, really? Okay, Oregon won.
Don't you want to get the show experience?
Look, after a 29 winning streak, it was bound to happen eventually, okay?
So
the score was 50-29. The Ducks won last night against my Seminoles. But that's okay.
59 to
59
20.
to 20. I'm sorry. Excuse me. My mistake.
Yeah, how man.
Well, we got to keep the point spread here going,
Man, lying for the Seminoles.
Oh, man.
All right, that was quite a game. I mean, quite a disaster. I mean, the Seminoles actually looked okay at the beginning, but once the game started going on more and more, it was just a blowout. And we had another game last night in the playoffs. We had Alabama versus Ohio State, and that was an upset. Number 4 Ohio State won. What was the score of that, Tom?
42-35.
Wow, so that one was a little bit better, but yeah. So this is why playoffs are cool. This is why I like that they have a playoff because it shows. Well, the Seminoles cannot argue now that they should have been in there. They have no argument to that now, and you have an upset. This is what makes it fun.
And the national championship is on January 12th in Arlington, Texas.
Nice.
Also,
nice.
To add to that, like we were saying earlier, on our Facebook page, on our WFLA Facebook page, I did post some of the funny memes that did come out of the FSU
did?
game.
I have to go look
so
at that.
if you want to laugh,
Look at
they are pretty comical. So take a
they
look
are
at that.
making fun of FSU, right?
Well, yeah, but
poor Michael, the intern, big FSU fan, and had to watch that game. All right, coming up next, I have a good friend of mine, Pastor Matthew Groce. He has a new book out called Different Leagues. It's a novel, and I was reading it, and it just seemed to really relate to what's going on in our country now. It really addresses the issues of what's going on in our country, so I had to get him on the show today. So we're going to have that in Orlando's news, weather, and traffic in just 2 minutes on News Radio 102.5. Good morning, everybody. Happy New Year. You're listening to Bud Henninger Live. This is obviously not Bud. This is the producer, Mike Yaffee, filling in on the big chair today. By the way, have you followed me on Twitter yet? Remember I said you can stop your car now, get out your cell phone, follow me on Twitter at Michael Yaffee, and then hashtag Yaffee for Speaker. Because we talked about earlier how the Speaker of the House does not have to be in Congress right now. They can vote for anyone, so hashtag Yaffee for Speaker if you want to vote for me for Speaker. That would be great. I am joined right now by a good friend of mine who was once my youth pastor, then my pastor, a mentor of mine and a good friend, Pastor Matthew Groce. And he has a new book out called Different Leagues that's available on Amazon.com. We posted that on our Facebook and Twitter. You can like us on Facebook at WFLA Orlando. Different Leagues is available for Kindle. And, well, Matt, how are you doing?
Doing fine, Mike. It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you always.
I should say that you're my favorite Michael Yaffee, too.
Yes, one more. Yeah, wait a minute. Yeah, there actually are like 2 other Michael Yaffees out there.
No, that can't
Facebook.
be.
Yeah, some of them spell Yaffee without 2 E's, just 1 E.
Well, then they're not real Michael Yaffees.
Yeah, they're fake. They're fake. All right, so Matt, you have a new book out that I happen to be reading, and I'm reading it, and I'm like, wow, the timing of coming out with this novel, Different Leagues, was perfect because it really addresses what's going on in the country in terms of what happened in Ferguson and the protests in Ferguson, and a lot of blacks still feeling like they're discriminated against, especially by the cops. But well, tell me about the book before we get into the real deep issues. Tell me about the book.
Well, I think it does pertain to issues today, but that was not intended because I started writing the book years ago, and it's an historical fiction from the 1920s and 30s. Right. But it addresses issues of the Jim Crow era.
Right.
And it focuses on 2 boys, one who's white and one who's black, and they kind of stumble into a short-lived friendship where the white boy, his father, is the head of the local Ku Klux Klan.
You know, I think the boy didn't really realize that at first.
Well,
right?
his dad doesn't really explain it to him
right
when he's that young.
Right.
But he understands he's the head of the KKK there. He just doesn't know a lot about it. But he does understand that, in his mind, blacks are inferior. In fact, I may use archaic language here because if I refer to the book, I'm going to refer to terms that were used back then.
Yeah, just don't use the N-word.
Of course not. But
we'd have to bleep that, but other things are fine.
But, of course, many whites back then considered what they called Negroes inherently inferior.
Right.
And he just accepted that. But then one day he heard a voice calling out, and it turned out he had dropped his baseball. And when the kid gave him the baseball, something about that caused him to look at that child differently.
And they became friends.
They
right?
became very close friends, like brothers. But he kept this from his father, of course. And then when his father found out, he told him not to do it, but he snuck over, and so the father basically beat it out of him.
Right.
And in the intervening couple of years, he developed more of a skill in pitching.
By learning from, well, wasn't he originally learning from his black friend's dad? Or
Well, he got to the point where his friends were telling him he was getting really good. And so he thought he needed special coaching. And his father had no interest in coaching him. And so he decided to sneak over to his one-time friend's house where his father had been a semi-pro pitcher years before.
Right.
In a black league.
Right. We are talking with Pastor Matthew Groce. Has a new book out called Different Leagues, available on Amazon.com. We posted it on our Facebook as well. And it's like you said, it's a historical fiction. And basically, what's the kid's name? What were the two kids' names?
The white kid is named Charles, and the black kid is named Otis.
Yeah, so Charles, his dad is actually the head of the Ku Klux Klan.
In their town, yeah.
In their town. And but he ends up befriending a black friend, Otis, and his dad. So it's kind of a contradiction there. He's taught that blacks are inferior, yet it's totally against what he's seeing in his everyday life.
Well, he kind of rationalizes that Otis and his parents are just different than other blacks.
Oh, okay.
And he still considers blacks inferior, but he kind of puts them in a separate category just because he develops an affection for them.
Right.
And so he starts to get some very helpful tips from Otis's dad, and eventually his father finds out, and his father is so upset that he thinks he needs to take really drastic action to bring it to an end. And so he basically intervenes in a very violent way.
Against Otis' father.
Right. And Otis's family moves away very abruptly, and so they never see each other again. But both boys kind of pour themselves into baseball as a healing after this terrible thing that happened.
Right. And they ended up hating each other, right? The boys?
Well, they both were able to reach the pro ranks in the same city. Of course, at that time, blacks could not play in the white leagues.
Right.
But there was what was called the Negro Leagues. And as it happened, they both ended up in the same city. And they met just by chance outside the stadium one day. And at first, they were both very glad to see each other, but very quickly, they had adopted basically their own prejudices.
Right.
Charles had gone back to just accepting that quote-unquote Negroes were inferior, but Otis had been really scarred badly by what Charles's father had done.
Right. All right, we're talking to Pastor Matthew Groce. His new book, Different Leagues, is out. You just gave the synopsis of the book, but we're going to talk about how this relates today and what maybe are some of the answers to help us reconcile this division. Unfortunately, there's too many people out there trying to divide us, but what's really the answer to these problems and getting rid of a lot of this division? We're going to have that in Orlando's news, weather, and traffic in 2 minutes on News Radio 102.5. Well, Happy New Year, everybody. This is Mike Yaffee, the producer, filling in for Bud Henninger, and we're continuing our conversation with Pastor Matthew Groce, who has a new book out called Different Leagues. And this basic point, it's a historical fiction, but basically it was a white kid and a black kid who grew up in the Jim Crow era. Charles, the white kid, has a father who's a head of the local Ku Klux Klan, and basically, once his father finds out that his son is hanging out with a black family, he takes violent action against that black family. And this causes very bad division between the two kids. And basically, the story is about how they both get into baseball with that division, but it's also about reconciliation. And Matt, the main thing I want to ask you is, what is the main message you're trying to get out in this book? Obviously, you're dealing with a very tough issue that's still obviously an issue in this country. I mean, you know about Ferguson just as much as I do, and about the Eric Garner thing. And you see the Al Sharptons of the world screaming that this kind of racism still exists, screaming that there's still this division out there. How do we get another point across to get away from the division and get more towards reconciliation?
Well, that's a very good question. It's an age-old question, isn't it?
Right.
On the one hand, I understand people when they look at our history, being strongly in favor of justice. Yeah. But sometimes people do stir things up where what they're not seeking is really justice, but just
revenge or power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And political gain and whatnot. But there's a Bible verse that talks about how justice and mercy meet each other. They kiss. Mm-hmm. And that's specifically through the cross of Christ. But it's really only through that true reconciliation can come, I believe.
So, I mean, is that one of the main points in your book? That what's the main message you're trying to bring about in your book?
Well, that there is hope for reconciliation and forgiveness, because in this book, these two young men, because of their history, they want to be friends again, but they basically they can't because of all the baggage. But they end up just becoming extremely hostile to each other, and it takes something really dramatic unfolds when they face each other in an exhibition game, and it kind of forces each one of them to really consider how they got to that point, and do they really want to just accept things the way they are.
Right. And so, I mean, it sounds like to me, even though this is the politically incorrect answer, it sounds like to me the true answer is what's always the answer, and that's in Jesus Christ. That's in the Bible. That's in the fact that reconciliation can come through him, because, I mean, when you think about it, we're all sinners, and we're all equal in the sight of God, and God loves us all equally. He wants us to be reconciled, and he doesn't want us to be divided. And it seems like maybe the church was a big help in the movement against slavery in the beginning. It was the churches who spoke out against slavery. But now it seems like when you have an Al Sharpton, who's supposed to be a reverend, instead he's spurring division. And then you have the Jeremiah Wrights of the world. Same thing. They're supposed to be reverends, and they're spurring this division. They're making the division worse. And you and I have talked before about how this country has actually made a lot of progress in terms of race, in terms of racial progress. But now it's this division now it seems like the division's trying to be created again of stuff. A lot of it's based on lies. Mm-hmm. But what do you think the church's role should be in all this?
Well, I think the church should certainly be an agent of reconciliation and proclaim the good news that God has offered redemption for us. Because when a person understands, as you said, we're all imperfect. In fact, the best way to describe us is to say nobody's perfect.
Right.
And when we recognize our own flaws and our own sinful nature, and recognize forgiveness that's offered to us, it puts other people's flaws in a different perspective. And I think that's what the church should be proclaiming, is that through Christ we're forgiven, and we should extend that forgiveness to others.
Right. And unfortunately, there's no talk of forgiveness anymore. Even if the cop was wrong in the Ferguson situation, there's no talk of forgiveness against him. Most of the talk is revenge. This is not the answer. It's not the solution. And then you have the guy who killed to New York City police officers. And he kind of did that out of revenge. And there's no talk of forgiveness on the other side. It's more talk of, it's this division that's being split. And I just liked your book because it really addresses what true reconciliation comes from, what true peace comes from. And it comes from our Creator. And it really should be the jobs of the churches to promote unity and peace. So his book, Different Leagues, available on Amazon.com by Matthew Groce, Groce. And Matt, I thank you for joining us. Go check out the book. It's a great read and talks about the real solutions to a lot of the problems in this country. And I just thought it was perfect time to come out of the book. So thanks, Matt, for coming on very much.
Thank you, Mike.
All right. Deborah Roberts is coming in, so we're going to have that in Orlando's news, weather, and traffic in 2 minutes on News Radio 102.5. Happy New Year, everyone. You're listening to Bud Hedinger Live. Of course, I'm the producer, not the host. Sorry to disappoint, but I'm here. But Deborah's still here.
Yeah. In
Deborah's
fact,
still
I don't
here.
think I've left.
Yeah, no vacation
Ever.
for you. No.
Yes. Vacation's coming.
Oh, is it?
Yes,
no,
it is.
You can't go anywhere.
Well, I'm going to be going crazy. So I'm already halfway there. About a week and a half. We'll
there.
finish the rest of the trip.
Going crazy. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Crazier. I know. Go ahead.
All right. By the way, have you all followed me on Twitter yet? I'm getting a bunch of new followers, so I've been promoting it every second.
Are you really?
So at Michael Yaffee. Follow me on Twitter at Michael Yaffee. Hashtag Yaffee for Speaker.
I'm on Twitter too, but I don't know what my Twitter handle is. So I can't help you.
I would tell you to follow Deborah Roberts, but she doesn't know what it is.
I don't
So-
tweet or Twitter, as your mom said. She doesn't Twitter.
My mom's like, yeah, I don't Twitter. Oh yeah, you can follow Michael the intern.
Yes, you can at Radio Michael 7.
Radio Michael 7. A little plug for the intern there.
Tom, any Twitter followers you want to have there?
He has more than any of us.
Really?
Yeah.
Tom Benson won.
Tom
He actually
Benson
has
won.
like 1,000 followers.
Are you kidding?
Not to be confused with the Tom Benson in New Orleans, who's a big-time car dealer. So we
Although
both
you'd like his paycheck.
That's how you're getting them.
we both have the same name, so I put the one after the name.
Because you're number one.
That's right.
Sounds like you've already had a run-in with this car dealer?
Well, I've been mistaken for him, yeah.
I have 12 followers.
Wow. Nice.
Okay, I have 12 followers.
You'll have more now.
Well, it's my it's my Twitter handle. I haven't really fixed it, so
Well, I'm gonna follow you. So anyway.
don't bother. I don't do anything.
And you can follow the station at News Radio 102.5. Oftentimes, I'm the one who posts for the station, and then I'll post for me, and then have the station retweet it. So there's a bunch of ways to follow me. So without further ado, Deb, what do you have for us?
Well, a federal judge has warned that county clerks here in Florida who don't start issuing wedding licenses to same-sex couples starting Tuesday will face future lawsuit and other legal consequences. The National Center for Lesbian Rights and American Civil Liberties Union in Florida cheered Thursday's ruling. An Air Asia crash investigation gained speed today as U.S. Navy teams pulled several bodies from the Java Sea, and an Indonesian crew spotted what appears to be the aircraft's tail on the sea floor. In all, 30 bodies out of 162 passengers and crew have been recovered. 4 have been publicly identified and returned to their families. This news brought to you by BurnFatOrlando.com. In the mood for a little good news?
Yes, I'm
Yeah?
always in the mood for good news.
I know. Especially it's a new year. There's plenty of bad news to talk about today, including some horrendous Florida stories. But let's focus on while Jimmy James was making his usual rounds as a garbage man in suburban Colorado, he saw an unused gift card land in a heap of used gift wrapping on Christmas morning. After noticing the card looked unused, James handed it off to his coworker to check the balance and see if there was any money left on it. Where do you think this is going to go next?
There was a ton of money left, wasn't there?
No, there wasn't.
No money.
Nope. This guy finished his shift as a sanitation worker in suburban Colorado. When he got done with his work at the end of the day, he returned to the home of Jason Edwards with the gift card that had just $50 on it, but $50 is $50.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah.
The Edwards family was in disbelief, thinking they'd lost their gift card, and they were shocked that James would take his own time, after work to go and hand them back their gift card.
That's awesome.
Isn't it? And
That
they
is
paid it
awesome.
forward. While Jimmy was being interviewed for a story on his good deed, the Edwards family decided to return the favor in the form of an envelope with $75 in cash.
Oh, Isn't
that a great story?
That is great.
Restores a little bit of our faith in mankind.
A little bit.
All right. Now, you see them everywhere. Interstates, the homeless people with the cardboard signs, wounded veteran, homeless, please help.
You see too many of them these days,
You
actually.
really do. You really, really do. Well, a viral video making the rounds, you and I were talking about this. This is a great opportunity to have your faith in humankind restored. This viral video, it's so heartwarming, it'll help restore your faith in humanity. Though this particular video was shot in Southern California, just like Mike and I were saying, it's based on a sign that's all too common throughout the nation. A homeless person stationed along a highway entrance asking for whatever money strangers are willing to donate. Well, one local filmmaker in California wanted to see just what would happen if he gave such a person $100. So Josh Paler-Lynn recently headed out to an on-ramp to a freeway in Anaheim, approached a man named Thomas. Parker's plan was to hand over the $100 bill and then secretly follow the man to witness and videotape what happens next. Just like a lot of people, the filmmaker thought he was going to blow it all on booze.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's a big stereotype.
It is a big stereotype, but what happened next shocked the filmmaker. In the video, Thomas is seen taking the money to a nearby liquor store and coming out with a few full bags. He then heads over to a nearby park and starts pulling out food to share with complete strangers.
That's awesome.
Isn't that awesome?
That is awesome. That's what that guy gets for judging him. But we do the same thing. I've done the same thing.
Well, it's funny. I have a rule about that. I know that homeless advocates and those who work with the homeless really don't want us to give our money to those on the side of the road. If you're going to give money to a homeless organization that has set up programs and such. However, if I'm driving through an intersection and Spirit tells me to help someone, once that money leaves my hand, it's not my sin what you do with that cash.
That's a good point.
My job is to take care of you. It's the only thing God asked of me before he left was to just watch out for my brothers and sisters. So if you want to spend that money on booze, that's your sin. It's not mine. But I'm not going to make the judgment and not give you the money because I don't know in my heart of hearts if you really are hungry.
Right.
It's worth $1 in my book. That's just my philosophy.
Wow. Good advice from Mother Deborah Roberts.
The one person you probably wouldn't think you'd get good advice you can actually take home to mom.
Well, I am not one of those people because you give me good advice all the time.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for sharing that story, too. I actually posted the video of that story on our website, 1025wfla.com, keyword Budman. You want to check that out, too. But great story.
And it is. And because of Thomas's good deed, he was given $100, and he went and shared it with people in the park. The filmmaker has set up an Indiegogo account for him. Last week, as of Friday, there was $162,000 in that account to help Thomas get his life back in order.
That'll
and get
definitely
a home.
help.
It really, really will. And his story is like so many other people. Medical bills, foreclosures. Next thing you know, you're on the street.
Yeah.
So it's all too common of a story. But like Mike said, go to Bud's blog at 1025wfla.com, and you can see the video for yourself and make your own decision about how you might approach that next homeless person you see on a highway entrance or off-ramp.
It's amazing how one good decision can completely change your life.
I often talk about this. When I was a kid, raised by a single mom, there was a Thanksgiving when my mom did not know how she was going to put food on the table. A regular meal was hard enough, much less a grand meal like Thanksgiving. Came home from work one day, and there was a box of Thanksgiving dinner on our doorstep, and we had Thanksgiving dinner that year.
You'll never forget it.
Oh, we'll never forget it. Another couple gave her like $100 to buy my brother and I Christmas presents. These were things that as children we didn't know were having to take place in the back scenes.
It's interesting, too. There's a lot of well-to-do people that if they were given $100 wouldn't have done something that nice with it.
Exactly.
So the fact that this guy really needed the money and still gave it to others is a great story. We're way late for a break now, Tom Benson. But we'll have more in
Let him sweat it out.
Orlando's news, weather, and traffic in just 2 minutes on News Radio 102. Happy New Year, everybody. And, of course, with the new year comes bowl games. But this year was the first ever bowl games and playoff games in the same time. And we had a couple of really big games last night. So I had to bring in Tom Morgan to talk about it. Good morning, Tom. How are you?
Of course. Sure. Yeah, this is a great time for football fans.
Oh, yeah,
New
definitely.
Year's Day.
I'm telling you, I already love the playoff system.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. I think it's made things so much better because, well, the first game we're going to talk about is Florida State and Oregon. Ducks.
Just too many mistakes by FSU.
Yeah.
They were in that game. It was 25-20, and then just a floodgate of turnovers. And Oregon's such a good offensive team. They take advantage of your mistakes, and they scored, and before you knew it, FSU was down 30 points.
I know. I mean, like you said earlier in the game, it seemed like they were going to be in it, and you're right. They just made too many mistakes. And Oregon's offense is really fast. They're a fast-moving offense, and they'll score.
And they know what they're doing. It's a well-oiled machine.
Right. So did you expect Oregon to win that bad?
No, I thought it was going to be a close game. FSU's games have all been close, and I figured, they play teams lesser than Oregon, close. I figured at the least it would be close, but I didn't, anybody expected that the game would end like that with Oregon running away with it.
Yeah, somebody told me now that they think Jameis Winston is going to stay in FSU for another year instead of go to the NFL because of this. What do you think about that?
It's hard to say. I think a lot of Florida State fans, because of all the drama surrounding Jameis this year, would probably wish he'd just go ahead and turn pro.
Yeah.
Leave. And
it's too much trouble.
I mean, the FSU fans weren't happy with Jameis this year, his behavior. They were okay with him winning games.
of course.
And he won 29 straight games. His first college loss yesterday. But he loves college. He loves playing football and baseball at Florida State. I would not be surprised if he came back, but I think people will be in his ear between now and when the draft comes. Saying,
so then that raises the next question. Do you think the Tampa Bay Bucks will pick him up for the first pick?
That's a good question. Boy, that is a good question. There was so much where I was watching the game last night. The discussion was, or who's better? Who would be better for the Bucks? Mariota or Winston? It was an interesting. FSU fans who are Bucks fans were going, hey, I like this Mariota kid, but I want FSU to win, but I want Mariota to look good because I'd like to see the Bucks get him. That's going to be an interesting decision for the Bucks to make.
Right. And also there was another big game last night, of course, Alabama and Ohio State.
Wow,
that was the upset.
Wow.
This is why that makes the playoffs so fun, because of upsets like that.
And Urban Meyer, give him credit. A lot of Florida fans are upset the way he left Florida.
I know.
They think he really, did a disservice to the program when he left, leaving Muschamp with a lot of problems. But, boy, that guy can win games.
Apparently.
He wins everywhere he goes. He's building how many teams can say they've got 3 good quarterbacks on one team? This was the third-string quarterback they played last night.
He's only started like 2 games, right?
Blowout of Wisconsin 59-0 in the Big Ten championship game was no fluke. This kid's a pretty good player.
Yeah.
But then you got him. You've got the kid that took Braxton Miller's place, who got hurt. He's going to be back. Miller could be back. There's some question whether he will be back. There was some talk he might go to Florida State if Jameis leaves.
Huh.
So, but yeah, give Ohio State credit. They came back from a 21-6 deficit. They would not be denied. And, boy, Alabama's defense, what happened to that Alabama defense? Giving up a lot of yards here in the last 3 or 4 games.
Guess they got overconfident. So the big question then is, who's going to win it all?
I'm going to go with Oregon.
Really?
I like Oregon. I think they're
Mariota's just awesome. So he's good.
Yeah, he just knows how to make plays. He doesn't make mistakes. That's the big thing.
Right.
The kid doesn't make mistakes. He can make big plays throwing. He can run. And the defense, came up with turnovers.
Right.
And they played tough.
I think it'll be a good game, though. I think it's going to be a very interesting game.
Yeah, but you know what? College football this year has been so hard to predict.
Yeah, well,
so hard to predict this year.
This is very true.
I think who knows?
Right.
Who knows who's going to win that game? But I think Oregon, to me, would be favored.
All right, Tom Morgan picks the Ducks. I think you're right, too. I think Oregon, too. Thanks, Tom, for coming in today.
All right. All right. Happy New Year to you.
Oh, yeah, Happy New Year, Tom. One of my favorite people in the planet. All right. Up next, Publix is going to offer marriage benefits to same-sex marriages. We're going to talk about that on Witness News, Weather, and Traffic in just 2 minutes on News Radio 102.5. All right, everybody. This is Michael Yaffee filling in for Bud Henninger Live. Bud will be back on Monday, and, of course, I'll be where I'm supposed to be, behind the glass, behind the board, producing for him. Have you followed me on Twitter yet? At Michael Yaffee. I'm going to probably post something now. I want to post vote for Yaffee for Speaker. Hashtag Yaffee for Speaker, because it doesn't have to be a congressman, so you can vote for me if you want. So over the break, I was talking to the intern Mike here, and he was telling me on some unfortunate news, if it's true. When Deborah Roberts was doing her news with us, she gave us a great story about how a guy gave a homeless person $100 and to see what he would do with it. Well, the homeless person took the $100, bought a bunch of food, and gave it to strangers. It was a great, heartwarming story. We all loved it. But then we got a bunch of calls in, and Mike looked it up for us, and unfortunately, there's a chance that isn't a real story, or it was staged. Which, if that's true, we're going to give you the truth here on Buttheading Live. And I just wanted to get to that. Mike, what are you hearing?
Yeah, the video, like we just talked about, Deb and I were just discussing, it reached over 25 million people showing this homeless man with the $100. Well, now there's claims saying that actually coming from his brother as well, the homeless man in the video, saying that not only was it staged, but they drove him around. He didn't even walk to the stores. They drove him around from where they initially shot the video.
That's so unfortunate.
I hope it's not. None of this is completely confirmed. I hope there's some truth in this story, but unfortunately, it looks like it may have been a staged event.
It's so unfortunate. So, if it is staged, we need to have a real event where somebody does this for real.
Yes. Somebody out there, please give a homeless man $100. Follow him around with the camera. Hopefully, we can find some good in this world.
Well, this actually raises an issue that I had earlier a couple weeks ago. And I posted something about it on my personal Facebook, and I got a lot of people mad at me. I was walking into a Wawa, and there was
my favorite.
Yeah. I don't know if he was homeless, but he had asked me he didn't ask me for money. He said, look, I don't need money. I just want some food. Can you buy me some food? And I was going to be and I said, sure, you want a bag of chips or something? I'll go get you a bag of chips. Just trying to be nice. He looked at me and he said, no, what I really want is a sub. A nice Wawa sub is what I want. And a part of me was thinking, is this where the term beggars can't be choosers come from? That if this guy, I'm offering this guy a bag of chips, and immediately he's demanding a really nice sub from Wawa. And I know I just wondered about that. And I posted that on Facebook, and a lot of people said, well, chips, they don't really feed you. They don't make you hungry, and a sub would be better. And then as a Christian, I should have done. So I'm just curious, I don't know what you guys would think about that. What should I have done in that situation? Should I just give him the sub? Should I just give him money?
So that raises the question then, did he really need it, or he's just trying to get a free meal? Now, if he really needed it, yeah, give him the sandwich. I mean, people need to eat, especially this time of year. But if he's just trying to get a free meal out of it, I mean, if he's
does
really
it just
homeless,
seem he didn't look homeless to me, but did it seem
accept it?
Did it seem to me weird that he was demanding something more than, like, when I said chips? Did it seem like weird that he was demanding a sub? Tom, I know you want to comment on this.
I think most people would have said, sure, I'll take a bag of chips if that's all you can do, but I really am hungry. I need something more. Did he look like he was hungry? Is there any? I mean, did he look thin? Look dirty?
No,
Rat?
Not really.
All right, then I'm with you.
I mean, I don't know. It just seemed weird to me that he just felt entitled to something. So I'm very torn on that. I ended up helping him out, but I'm just very torn on that. So I don't know if to make that into another
What did he order? What kind of sub?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh,
I actually ended up just giving him the money. I was in kind of a hurry.
Got it.
But but yeah, the day's over. I'm no longer the host. I'm going to be producer next week. I thank you guys so much for letting me fill in today and listening to me. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Michael Yaffee. Follow the station on Twitter at News Radio 1025. Like us on Facebook, WFLA Orlando. I will see you guys. Well, I'll talk to you guys on Monday, but we'll be back on Monday. Happy New Year.